Today's video is honestly a bit more personal because it's a story of how I met Zappos CEO Tony Hsieh, and ultimately he hired me to draw these life-size murals of my cartoons for his Zappos headquarters. And the reason why I want to share this story is not just because there's a lot of life lessons to learn, so hopefully you could get a lot of value from it, but also to honor his memory. I mean, I've been so shook to hear about how he died at such a young age, and I just wanted to share this story to show another side of Tony that maybe folks didn't know in the public, and also share my experiences with him, because it's one of the most memorable, I think, one of the most memorable stories and memories of my life, and I'm really grateful for it. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed and ring this notification bell. I know this video is going to be a bit different, so if I had to rewind the clock and tell you when this story started, it was in 2017, and we were in Las Vegas at a conference where Tony spoke. And afterwards, you know, people mobbed him, right? There was a crowd around Tony trying to ask him questions. So I waited 20, 30 minutes just to say hello, just to say hi. And to my surprise, Tony was like, hey, what are you most excited about right now? Like, he was engaging in a bit of dialogue with everyone. So I told him about these cartoons that I was drawing, these weekly cartoons, which poke fun at corporate culture and try to help people in their careers. I'm gonna show a few of them here. Maybe you guys have seen them or found this channel because of those Every Vowel cartoons. But then Tony starts smiling, start laughing. He's asking me if I could show him a few more of those cartoons. I'm like, okay, like, so I just keep on scrolling on my phone. And then he looks up from his phone and I'm like, oh crap, I lost his interest. And he starts like looking around for his like Zappos colleagues and starts motioning to him. And he's like, hey guys, come check this out. And I'm like, oh my God, he's showing my cartoons to his Zappos colleagues. So they huddle around, they start smiling, they start laughing. And then I'll never forget what happens next. Tony then looks up from the phone and he's like, hey, can you paint murals of these cartoons for the Zappos headquarters? And like my mind is racing. I've never painted these. Like, these were just digital cartoons that I put out on social media every Monday. And I don't know what came over me, but I immediately just said, yes, I could do murals. And I had no idea how to do that. I figured I would just, you know, one of the things I always believe is you could say yes if you're confident enough in doing something and then figure it out later. So I said yes. And Tony's like, great, here's my email. Let's get in touch and let's get those murals up. So then I'm like emailing with Tony and his team, and I'm having like a mini heart attack anytime I see Tony Hsieh's name in my inbox. And we start going back and forth, and they're like, hey, can you make your cartoon murals about our Zappos mission statement and values? I'm like, sure. And I start looking over them. I start coming up with different mocks and sketches, sending it to them. And then I have this moment where I'm like, oh my God, I feel like we're gonna go back and forth over email forever and just never seal the deal on this. So I told them, hey, I'm gonna be in Vegas next month. Can we set a time for a meeting? And I don't think I've ever told anyone this, but I had no plans to be in Vegas. I just figured if we meet in person, it's just gonna be better and faster and more efficient. So I flew down to Vegas and I prepared this entire portfolio, this entire document of paper that showed them the exact cartoons that I made and drew based on their mission statement, their values, which they wanted. And then I took it a step further. And I had found these pictures on Google of the Zappos headquarters, and I superimposed through Photoshop just the pictures of the cartoons on their walls so they could see how it looked. So these bland walls now had my cartoons on them, so it made it that much more visual. And then I reached out to a muralist, somebody who was a professional who could actually take my cartoons and put it on the walls to get price quotes. So I took the price quotes, the renderings of the images on the walls, and then also the cartoons I prepared for them, put them in a portfolio, flew to Vegas. 5 a.m. The PDF is loading. Who said all-nighters don't stop after college? And finally we had the meeting, and I'll never forget, we were in that meeting, they looked over it, like similar like smiles and laughs from when we were last in Vegas, and he was just looking at them on his phone, and they said yes. They're like, let's do it.
All right, I want to make sure I'm as far away as possible so I don't hear everybody. Ah! Oh man. Oh, that could not have gone better. That could not have gone better. They were laughing, they were loving it.
It's finally happened. This Zappos CEO is taking a chance on me, a nobody, to do these cartoons and murals for one of the most iconic offices in the world. And so that started an entire process of just working with the muralists, getting everything painted off-site in Minnesota where the muralists were based, and then having them drive the murals with like a bunch of padding so they wouldn't get scratched and they would be safe all the way to Vegas, because we didn't want to risk it and fly them and have somebody else look over them. We wanted them to drive over to Vegas, and then 11 months later, 11 months later, that's literally how long it took to get everything finalized, the vendor paperwork, get the artwork of these 4 murals done. I met up with my muralist in Vegas. I met up with Tony and his team again, and we started putting the murals on their walls, and we had a little bit of an unveiling ceremony. I got to show them to Tony. You can see that picture here. I got to meet his pet llama. I mean, he invited me to Vegas with open arms. He put me in this like trailer park that many of you guys know. He lives in a trailer, and there's a bunch of other trailers around him that he gives to guests. I also made these shoes for Tony and his team just to say thank you and just to go above and beyond, because it's such an incredible memory. And to this day, if you ever go visit the Zappos headquarters, which guests can do, they give tours, you'll see 4 cartoon murals that I made, all because Tony Hsieh gave me a chance because of a little conversation we had at a conference. So I don't want to get too emotional here, but I wanted to bring it back to you. So what are the 3 lessons that you can learn and that I learned from this experience with Tony? The first one is to be around people who send the elevator back down to get you. And so there's this old adage that I absolutely love, which is if you're lucky enough to reach the top in your life and in your career, don't forget to send the elevator back down to help the next generation get up. And I think Tony was one of those people. And it's so rare to find, because sometimes when you get to the top, you forget about everyone at the bottom floor, you just want to party in your penthouse, to just play along with that metaphor. But Tony was somebody who sent that elevator back down to help so many people. And in 2017 at that conference, he sent that elevator back down to get me. And I think it changed my life in ways that I didn't even realize when I walked into that conference. And I know that he's did it for many, many other young people. And so when you see those people in your life who are willing to help you, even though they have nothing to gain from you, stick around those people, because it's an amazing thing that just they're able to be that kind and courteous, and also it leads to opportunities that nobody can expect. So it works in everyone's favor to be kind. The second lesson that I learned from this whole experience is to say yes and be confident that you'll figure it out on the way. I really believe that there's nothing more motivating in life than a deadline and an audience. And when you have those 2 things, you're gonna get it done. And when Tony asked me at that conference, hey, can you make murals of these cartoons? I could have done 2 things. I could have hesitated, stammered, been like, oh, I've never done this before, Tony, let me get back to you. And if I had done that, it would have been over. It would have been over. There's no way my cartoons would be in Zappos' headquarters to this day. But the second option I had, which I took, was to say yes, be confident, and say, yes, let's get it done. I'd be happy to do that, Tony. And I think I just had enough confidence that, you know, there's murals out there, there's professionals I could hire to take my artwork and put it on the wall. I knew that execution part I could figure out with just enough time, and we did. So anytime you have an opportunity in your life that feels a bit out of your comfort zone, that's probably where you should be. I encourage you to say yes, because you can figure it out. Especially because if they're asking you, they're probably showing enough confidence in you. So do yourself a favor and show that confidence in yourself as well. And the last lesson is to not overly rely on email. I think so many times people spend hours trying to draft these novels to convince people over email to get a deal done. And I remember I was like drafting this whole pitch over email after Tony had showed interest. I'm like, let's do it, here's the cost. And that's when I had the moment of thought and moment of clarity, like, no, this is gonna be much better in person. And I'm just gonna buy a plane ticket, I'm gonna tell them I'm coming, we're gonna set the meeting in person, I'm gonna go above and beyond to pitch them with physical printouts of what these cartoons will look like and the costs. And I think because I did that, as opposed to trying to continue to go back and forth over email, that was the difference between them showing interest and actually opening up their wallets and saying Zappos is gonna pay money for these cartoons, and John, let's hire you as a vendor. So I encourage you, next time you're having a big conversation or a big deal over email and going back and forth, just try to get that meeting in person, or given everything going on, at least try to have a meeting and not rely on email too heavily. So I'm just so grateful for this entire opportunity. I wanna say rest in peace, Tony. I'm sending all my love to your family and to the Zappos family. And thank you guys for watching. If you haven't done so already, maybe check out my other videos here or hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. I'll see you guys next week.